You're listening to Just Hit Play with your hosts, Peter and Nick Cabral. If you're tired of your stagnant, streamed music feed, then strap yourselves in for an intergenerational sonic journey through Peter and Nick's favorite songs.
Welcome to episode 38 of Just Hit Play. I'm your host, Peter. With me is my co-host, Nick. Nick, good morning. How you doing?
Good evening. I'm doing all right. We were about to get dumped on by some snow. Just Canadian things, but can't complain. It's all right.
Yeah. It's not too bad today, but it's been really humid here. I think we were talking about it off air, and I think with humidity, got up to 41 degrees Celsius here. In Brisbane, what that is in Fahrenheit, it's just hot and humid. I don't know what the conversion is. It's probably like 120 or something. That's probably the conversion.
Damn. Well, yeah, that sounds hot as balls. We'll say.
Yeah,
that.
you sort of just want to put a bullet in your head because you can't really do anything. We
can't move.
No, we went last night. It rained on and off all day yesterday too. We went for a drive just down to the ocean, and it was a little bit cooler there because I have a dog. Her name is Polly. So Polly was inside the house all day because it was raining. So when the rain broke, we drove to the ocean and walked around for a bit. So that was nice.
Yeah, that sounds lovely.
Yeah. So that was all right. In our Brisbane studios is Darren. Darren, how you doing?
Good, except for the heat.
Yes, it's bloody warm. So how's school going? So you're back in class?
I am. Yeah, I am certainly back in class. I don't know. I got used to doing everything from my bedroom.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of annoyed now that I have to shower and get dressed in a appropriate outfit and take the bus to campus. Like that, all that seems so foreign to me now. But
yeah,
once I'm there sitting in the lecture hall, it does feel nice. It really does. And it's crazy how much more you're able to engage with what you're being taught when you're actually in person.
And the lectures are full, like everyone's there.
Essentially, yeah. It's nice. So they're also still live streaming the lectures over Zoom and then recording them to post afterward. So you don't have to go in person. And I certainly won't go to all my classes if I'm not feeling it, just because the option's there to watch it after.
Sure, yeah.
It's nice flexibility, I will say.
Now, I'm guessing to go to campus, you need to show your double vaccination. Is that correct?
Yeah. Unless you're exempt, but I think over 99% of anyone who goes to campus is double vaccinated.
When I went to that show, when I saw Amel and the Sniffers, we had to show our vaccination to get into the gig. So yeah, that's even restaurants here. I'm assuming it's the same back there. We have to show your vaccination status to get into restaurants.
Yeah, it's been like that for quite a while now.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I think for us, Darren's been since mid-December, I'm thinking, or around the 15th of December.
Yeah, but not everywhere checks, which is sad.
No, it doesn't. That's true. All right, let's get into some music. You're going first this week, and I'm very curious on this song and why you picked this song. So get into it.
Yeah, so this week we're listening to 1999 by the British singer-songwriter Charlie XCX. It's off her semi-self-titled album Charlie from 2019. I think this is just a really nice song that packages a lot of nostalgia for a different time with a catchy, tight pop instrumental. So yeah, I can't wait to talk about this one. Darren, why don't you just hit play?
I just wanna go back to 1999. Take a ride to my old neighborhood. I just wanna go back. Sing hit me baby one more time. Wanna go back, wanna go. Yeah, I just wanna go back. Nike air so bad. CD, oh Mercedes. Drive down listening to Shady like oh. Never under pressure. Those days it was so much better. Feeling cool in my youth, relaxing, no money, no problem. It was easy back then. Wish that we could go back.
Okay, yeah. So it's the beginning of 1999, and I feel like this could go one of two ways. So why don't you tell me what you thought about the song?
Yeah, it's a really nice pop song. I'd never heard it before, but it's dripping with nostalgia, as you mentioned. And when I sort of heard this song, it sort of threw me off a little bit because I was expecting something more hip-hoppy, I guess, and not so poppy because, most of the songs, this is probably the first true pop song that you've had me listen to.
Yep.
And I could see this one being played at like a high school graduation, or at a club where all the girls, especially the girls and some of the boys, get up and dance, because it has that sort of old school nostalgia feel to it.
Yeah, it's without question a pop song. But I think it's a very well executed pop song. It's very apparent. It evokes feelings of thinking about youthful, carefree summers, hanging out with your friends, not a care in the world, and all that good stuff that people in their 20s love to sing about.
Yeah.
And you're right. It is the first true pop song I've shown you, and I felt like now is the time to start mixing in some more of the genres of music I listen to, because it may be surprising, but I do really like pop music like this when it's not generic and derivative, and when it's actually executed well. You hear some different production styles and stuff. I'm not like anytime that something's poppy or catchy, I don't like it, right? So
Yeah.
I really liked songs like this, and yeah.
As you know, I love music videos. In the era that we grew up, Darren and I, music videos were hand in hand with songs. You had to have an interesting music video to go with your song, and this definitely has an interesting music video. So I think, because in the video, Charlie goes and does all these things from basically 1999 that specifically happened in 1999, and I think I got every single reference.
Yeah, that's good. Good for you.
Did you get the references? Because you were born in the year 2000. So, did you get all the references?
I got some of them, like Titanic, obviously, Matrix, Sims, stuff like that. There's a lot of like stuff that the Backstreet Boys, I think, like
that's in there.
Sort of got that just because it's popular culture now. Like the Backstreet Boys, they're just referenced a lot.
Yeah.
So things like that, like some references I just understood because other things reference them a lot.
Sure. The ones I picked up were obviously, as you mentioned, the Matrix. There were some Spice Girls.
Right.
There was a band called TLC where she dressed up as Left Eye Lopez. There was a Dancing Baby, which was a big thing in 1999.
A specific dancing baby?
It was
any baby
very
dancing?
No, it was a very specific CGI dancing baby. I picked that up. There was the American Beauty. I don't know if you ever seen the movie American Beauty.
Oh, yeah.
Where she's like has those rose petals all around her. That's from American Beauty, which I guess was released in 1999. Yeah, so I think I got all the references. I think there was a Britney Spears reference in there as well, and
well, there's a Britney Spears reference in the song as well.
Sure, okay,
Hit Me Baby One More Time.
Oh, okay, there you go. So yeah, it was really neat to see to go back, and because as we discussed off air, she would have been 7 in 1999.
Right.
What a 7-year-old remembers from 1999 is I guess really interesting, because they would have been around, but I don't remember what 1979 was like, really. So that I found quite interesting.
Yeah, I think what a lot of that is to people of my generation, my era, right before Generation Z, and that whole time, we have a really romantic, idealized version of the 90s. I'm not quite sure why. Maybe it's just because there was no social media. Life seemed easier, less complicated, more carefree. A lot of things were just starting to become popular, like CDs were really big, and it's just a lot of warm romantic nostalgia. I think so. Maybe she didn't even remember a lot of the things herself, but then she thought back, okay, 1999, well, in hindsight, this would have been popular, and made a song about it to unlock those nostalgic feelings in my generation.
Have you ever seen the movie Midnight in Paris by Woody Allen?
I have not.
Okay. It came out probably 10 years ago. So in the movie, the main character accidentally goes back in time in Paris to like I believe it's the 30s.
Okay.
Because he romanticizes the 1930s. He gets to meet Fitzgerald and Hemingway, Gertrude Stein, like all these really big personalities from, like Picasso. He meets Picasso, all these big personalities from the 1930s. And he starts talking to them, but their characters, like the Hemingways, the Picassos, and all that kind of stuff, they romanticize like the 1880s.
Ah,
So it's this really weird thing of romanticizing the past uh, into like this really glorious thing when it might not really be that. And
yeah,
each generation sort of romanticizes a specific moment in time, really.
definitely.
Yeah. So
And
yeah. So I thought that was kind of a bit the same, but not really.
definitely, it's definitely an homage to that time. And I think another reason for that, why this song is so reference heavy and it's very specifically talking about a point in time, is if you listen to this whole album that Charlie made, this is definitely the poppiest song by far
Mhm.
on the whole album. It's the least experimental. And I think this is just my theory. I have no idea if this is true, but I feel like talking about the 90s and 1999 kind of makes sense for the poppiest song because it could be argued that this time was sort of the golden era for pop music, when you had the boy bands and
Yeah,
Spice Girls, Britney Spears, all that sort of happening. It was a good time for pop music in hindsight. I think
it
some
was.
people might agree with
Yeah.
that.
I think nostalgia sells really well too. We talk about how the Care Bears are sort of a few years ago. The Care Bears were sort of getting popular again, and Transformers are popular again, and the Ninja Turtles are popular again. And the reason for that is the people my age who are having children want their children to have the same sort of experiences, so they buy them Care
Right.
Bears, and that's why you know. Especially look at Transformers. Transformers was huge a few years ago because it was people like me were taking their kids to the movies or buying them toys. So they sort of seem to go dormant for a while. Then they wait 20 years and then reintroduce them as a nostalgia sort of thing.
Right. Well, the Ghostbusters. That's
Ghostbusters.
another.
Yep.
Then a new movie just came out.
Yeah.
It's a parent will say, "Oh, like they'll say to their kids, oh, I loved this when I was your age.
Yeah.
We should go see this, or we
It's
should go to the
it's a
store."
shared experience, right? Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
a cross generational thing at that point.
Well, I even watched on Disney Plus right now. There's the Book of Boba Fett,
Right.
and Dave Filoni, the director and the writer of that, just is bringing back everything from Star Wars, right? And
Yeah.
and so I've been watching some of like the reactions to some of the. I'm not going to, in case anyone hasn't seen it, I'm not going to spoil it for you. But seeing some of the reactions from characters that are coming back, and grown men are crying,
Wow.
because this character came back and this character came back. So nostalgia sells very well.
That was our Star Wars talk. Back to the music.
Back to the music.
So, Charlie XCX is an interesting artist to me, because she first got her break in the industry when she featured on Iggy Azalea's song Fancy,
Right. Yeah.
which is terrible. It's an awful song.
Yeah.
I apologize to any Australians who feel like a connection to
No.
Iggy Azalea because of her heritage, but it's a terrible song.
Yeah. Don't worry about that. Go for it. Yeah.
So I was initially skeptical of like anything solo from Charlie XCX, just because while that song propelled her into like more of a mainstream audience and gave her fans, it didn't do any favors for me in terms of my opinion of her. And then she made Boom Clap. I don't know if you've heard that song, but it's just
Nope.
very generic derivative pop song
Yeah.
that she made after Fancy. And then a couple of years ago, my good friend Xander, who I've mentioned a few times on this podcast, anytime we talk about where I found a song or an artist, he puts me onto a lot of the more low key underground pop artists because he really likes that type of music, as do I. And so he told me to listen to this album, Charlie, and just because I trust him and I trust his recommendations, I gave it a shot.
Yeah.
And I love the whole album, and I've listened to everything she's put out since. Like I'm a really big fan, and I said this at the beginning of when we were talking about Charlie XCX, but I really like hearing pop music that's made with creativity,
Yeah.
heart, and thought. Like when there's a degree of thought put into making pop music, it becomes very, very apparent to me. Like it's so much of what's hits the top of the charts. A lot of pop music is so mind-numbingly safe and
Yeah.
boring, really. Like it's really just so safe and inoffensive so that it can be appreciated by the largest amount of people possible. But there's a reason pop music is popular. It's catchy, it sounds good. And so I don't think dismissing or writing off pop as a genre is really fair. And I like when it's people take those core aspects of the genre, but then aren't afraid to experiment a little. They'll throw in some vocal effects or go a little crazy with the production, or mix in some rapping or elements of hip hop into it. I really like things like that, and Charlie XCX does it just as good as anyone else who makes good pop music. So I really appreciate her and what she's doing.
One of my favorite pop songs of all time, and I got you to listen to this before we did the podcast, was "Groove Is in the Heart But Delight."
Right, great song.
Which is just a pure a classic, just pop song. And I'm not the biggest pop music fan in the world, but there's something about when it's done well. There's just something about pop music that really does it.
Absolutely. And I think, and I'm basing this off this theory. The theory is that artists who they get very successful off one huge single, like massive single, and then they feel the pressure of what they follow that up with. You can either go in two ways, which is you continue to keep chasing that single and you make more and more generic and derivative pop music, trying to get that huge smash success. Or you take the platform that initial single gave you and use it as a way to start making some more experimental creative music. And I obviously prefer when artists choose to go the latter route, and I think Charlie XCX did that very well, the same way that Carly Rae Jepsen did after her Call Me Maybe song. I'm a very big fan of all her music since then. She makes awesome music now. So I wish more artists would choose to get a bit more experimental, but can't expect that out of everyone.
Yeah. No, and I think you're right. Even that, going back to that song from Delight, that's got a lot of nostalgia in it as well. So I think when it's done well, it's done well. That's all we really need to know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, no, I really it was a fun song. I really enjoyed the video, especially I think that video was to placate people my age to remember 1999 and go, oh yeah, I get that one, yeah. And then also the romanticizing of the decade and the year as well.
Yeah, it's an earworm. Don't be surprised if you just like find the chorus being stuck in your head and stuff, and you're like, oh yeah, that song, that's pretty good. And then you throw it on, and
because I listened to that song quite a bit yesterday, and the more I listened to it, the more I liked it. So when it kind of just was like a generic pop song the first couple times I heard it, but I would say by the fourth and fifth listen, you sort of get the groove and it sort of becomes familiar. So you enjoy it. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're right. It's a very danceable track for sure.
Yeah. I photographed a lot of high school graduations, and that sounds like the perfect song for high school graduations.
Yeah. Absolutely it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you liked this one.
Yeah.
Darren, what did you think of 1999?
Yeah, it's a good little song, but it bugs me that they were so young actually in 1999.
Yeah.
But besides that, it's okay.
Okay, I'm glad. Yeah, but it is a good point. You do kind of have to question the authenticity there a little bit, but I'll give it a pass just because the song's cool.
Yeah, cool. No, it was a good little song. Yeah, we enjoyed that. All right, moving on. I got you to listen to the Stooges. Is there a dirtier sounding song than this one? I don't know. It's called I Want to Be Your Dog. Now, I know we're doing the 70s month, and I thought the song was from the 70s. It actually came out in 1969, but that's okay. I played a Doors song that came out in the 70s and the 60s, so I'm just evening things up a little bit. So Darren, play I Want to Be Your Dog by the Stooges. God, I love that dirty fuzz guitar. All right, Nick, tell me what you thought.
Yeah, you really said it perfectly when you said it's a dirty song, because it's so grimy, so sleazy almost, and I love the crunching guitar. The fast-paced percussion's fantastic, especially the guitar at the end when it's that super, super fuzzy, distorted guitar solo to close the song.
Yeah.
That was really, really, really well done. But I gotta say, the lead singer, really, I'm really put off by his voice.
Yeah,
I don't know why that is, but his voice is so grating and annoying to me.
That's Iggy Pop, baby.
Yeah, I hate to say it because I love everything about the song other than his voice, but it kind of ruined it for me in a way.
Okay, so let's get into Iggy Pop. Iggy Pop was born in 1947. His real name, I have it written down here, it's James Newell Osterberg Jr.
What a name.
Yes. From Detroit. Now, Iggy, I named my bird. I had a lorikeet for a while. We named the bird Iggy for Iggy Pop as well. This is a punk song released in 1969. Iggy Pop is considered the punk godfather.
Okay.
Because this is punk, this is heavy metal, this is 3 minutes and you're out kind of music, which is really punk rock. He was much more of a charismatic frontman than he was a singer.
That makes sense to me.
On stage, he used to roll around on broken glass and cut up his torso. He used to do a lot of crazy things on stage. There was rumors that one show he was going to kill himself, and all these people came to an Iggy Pop show because the rumor had gone around that at the end of the gig he was going to commit suicide. Obviously that didn't happen since he's still alive. But the fact that was like, oh yeah, Iggy, he might do that. Yeah,
Let's all get tickets and watch him kill himself.
Yeah, which is kind of interesting. He's got much more charisma. I like his voice. I grew up with listening to Iggy Pop, so I don't mind his voice at all.
I could see his voice being an acquired taste for me.
Yeah.
Something where just the more I listened to it and got used to it,
Yeah.
it wouldn't put me off. But the initial impression of the song I had was not very favorable.
Right.
And then subsequent listens, I was like, okay, no, the instrumental's amazing here. It really is, in my opinion, a really, really good song.
Yeah.
But then, yeah, I've warmed up to his voice more.
Yeah.
Just from listening to it, but still overall, I think I would enjoy this song more if it was a different singer, or even just I would listen to just the instrumental for sure.
Yeah.
Like you said, it's just a 3-minute burst of energy and you're out, which is awesome. I really love that.
I think the meaning of this song is to basically put a nail in the coffin that was the 60s. Yeah. And that's what
Why do you think that?
That's what Iggy that was always his claim to fame, that he killed the 60s because of this song and his type of music. Because 1969, you're getting the sort of like the love sort of side of the psychedelic, the really love hippie sort of side of the 60s coming out, and then you got this song coming through that sounds nothing like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I can appreciate a good counterculture band,
Yeah.
or people who run in the opposite direction of the zeitgeist and what's popular in music and stuff.
Yeah.
So that's really cool. And I must say, I looked up the lyrics, gave them a read, thought they were really good and very interesting too. Super like evocative lyrics. Really
Absolutely.
interesting.
Yeah. The producer of this album was John Cale, who used to be in the Velvet Underground. So we're coming in full circle here. Lou Reed and David Bowie and Iggy Pop were very good friends. David Bowie produced some of Iggy Pop's best known records. So there you go. So this is coming back full circle from the Velvet Underground Lou Reed stuff that we're listening to.
Very well executed.
Yeah.
Very well. Yeah, it doesn't surprise me that from what you've described about Iggy Pop and Lou Reed and David Bowie all talked about on this show, it doesn't surprise me that those three were very tight. I imagine hanging out with the three of them, how crazy of a night you would have.
Well, there's a funny story with Bowie and Iggy. Iggy had checked himself into a psych ward in 1974. His drug addiction had become really out of control, and David Bowie decided to visit him at the psych ward, and thought that he probably hadn't done drugs in a long time, so he brought him a lot of coke.
Oh God!
Which Iggy declined.
Oh, good for him.
And But yeah, like I said, in the '76, I'm going to say, is when Bowie was going through his Berlin phase, and they released a lot of music together. There was a particular song called "The Passengers." That is a particular favorite of mine that Bowie produced.
I feel like if you were to spend a night hanging out with Lou Reed, Iggy Pop, and David Bowie,
It'd be a fun night. Yeah,
you'd wake up the next morning with like 3 new addictions to drugs that you'd never tried before.
there was it was they were interesting people, that's for sure. Yeah,
But you probably have a hell of a night and a lot of good stories. So,
and the fact that of the 3 of them, Iggy Pop's the one that's still alive is quite surprising.
yeah. Again, just from what you've told me, I would not have guessed.
Yeah. So Iggy, he had like I said, he used to he almost died on stage one night because he used to roll around on broken glass, and it hit an artery, and he had to be rushed to hospital because he almost died. He almost bled out.
Well, I respect the commitment to the bit, to the persona. If it even was a persona, it was probably just
he was a little crazy. Yeah, he was.
Yeah, he was probably just a little crazy.
Yeah,
but I respect the commitment. I really do.
Yeah,
it's crazy. All these to basically form a new genre or movement out of thin air, like the punk movement. Yeah. It's crazy how strong of a personality you have to be to get other people to look at you and say, "Oh, what he's doing is so cool. It's so different," and basically inspire that feeling enough to get people to gravitate to your way of doing things rather than the mainstream or the accepted traditional way.
Yeah, well, if it wasn't for Iggy, we wouldn't have had the Sex Pistols, because the Sex Pistols are directly influenced by Iggy Pop. We wouldn't have Nirvana. We probably wouldn't have a band called like the Smiths. Iggy was essential, and David Bowie and Lou Reed were essential for those movements to start.
Damn, that's really interesting. I've heard of Iggy Pop before in my life. Just because his name was Iggy Pop, I always assumed he was just a straight up pop artist.
Oh no!
It was a pretty silly assumption of me, but I just thought, Iggy Pop, he probably just a male pop artist, like a Justin Bieber type thing.
No,
and so
no.
This very, very different from what I was expecting.
Yeah.
What do you think the reason is that David Bowie had so much more mainstream and lasting success than Lou Reed and Iggy Pop? Was he just making more accessible music, or was it something else about him?
Okay. I think you nailed it when you said you found his voice grating. I think David Bowie was a much better singer than Lou Reed and Iggy Pop.
Okay. Yeah. That seems fair.
And you have to remember too, David Bowie could go into he was a multifaceted artist. We could release very different types of music as well.
Absolutely.
His 80s stuff was very different than his 70s stuff. The music he released in the 90s was very different than the music he did in the 80s. So he was able to just weave around in multiple generational type of music, where Iggy Pop and Lou Reed probably not as much.
I mean, right up into to his death. His last album, Black Stars,
so good,
amazing.
Such a good album,
truly amazing. I think I haven't listened to all of his albums, of Bowie's albums, but I think Black Star is very high up there for me in terms of favorites.
Yeah, it's a really good album. Yeah,
so I think that must be it. It's the longevity and being able to be versatile and switch things up. I think that would be a main contributor to staying popular.
Now, as I mentioned earlier, for the next 2 months, I'm going to get you to listen to 70s music, and I couldn't figure out what song to listen to as the last song of the 70s, and I'm thinking I might pick up an Iggy Pop solo song for us to listen to in the last listen. So yeah, leave that with me, and we'll see if you like the next Iggy Pop song.
Okay, sounds good. I'll be waiting.
Okay. But I hope you understood the importance of the Stooges and what they did to music going forward.
Yes, I definitely do. That's apparent, and I can imagine that a song that sounds like this would have been so different from anything else that was released at the time.
Yeah,
other than maybe some of the Velvet Underground stuff, which I can say now. But yeah, I can definitely see how this would influence the bands that came after, the music that was made after, and that's awesome. So got to thank the Stooges and Iggy Pop for that. Yeah. I hope his voice grows on me.
There was another band. So So the Stooges were from Detroit. There's another band coming from Detroit at the same time called the MC5, which are really, really cool as well. So maybe one day we'll listen to some MC5.
Cool. Sounds
right.
good.
Darren, what did you think of the Stooges?
Not terrible, but nothing special to me.
There you go. I think I love that. I think that song is one of my favorite songs of all time. I love the sound of the guitar, and I love Iggy Pop, so that's one of my favorites. But I can totally understand why some people might not like his voice. He's not a very good singer.
Yeah, and like I said, I'm 100% with you. The guitar's incredible. Drums were great.
Yeah.
It's just his voice for me.
Attitude goes a long way in rock and roll. Let's say that.
Yep, no question about that.
Cool. All right. What song do you have me to listen to next week?
Next week, you're going to listen to a song called Sophia by the artist Claro.
Okay. And then we're going to, as we're doing the 70s month, you're going to listen to some disco.
Ooh, okay.
So this is my girlfriend Angie's favorite disco song of all time. It's by Thelma Houston, and it's called Don't Leave Me This Way.
Awesome. Sounds good.
All right, let's get into some history.
This week in music history.
All right, in 1973, the number one song was still Elton John and Crocodile Rock. So we're not going to listen to that one. We're going to listen to a song on the charts that I could not believe was at number 4.
Okay.
And it's Dueling Banjos from the Deliverance soundtrack, which is performed by Eric Weisberg and Steve Mandel. Just hit play. I cannot believe that made it to number 4.
They were really playing that on the radio?
Okay, so let me explain to you. Have you ever heard of the movie Deliverance?
The name sounds familiar.
Okay.
I haven't seen it.
How do I explain Deliverance? Burt Reynolds was in it. He takes so it was released in 1974, 73, 74. So it had to be 73 because we're listening to this from 73. So he's taking a rafting trip in like Alabama, like the South. And it's a horror movie because like they run into some of the locals, the inbreds locals. And anytime you hear Dueling Banjos, it's like referencing to like the male rape scene that happens in the movie.
Oh, okay. Yeah. How the hell is this on the charts?
So when I saw this at number 4, I'm like, what was going on in 1973? And that's the entire song. It's just Dueling Banjos. It's just two banjos playing off each other. And that's sort of the zeitgeist. Anytime someone references two dueling banjos, it's in reference to like male rape.
Okay, got it.
So this confused me when I saw this in the charts.
Well, I do like Burt Reynolds, so maybe I'll give that movie a shot.
Yeah, don't watch it at night.
Okay.
Watch it in the daytime.
Okay, sounds good.
It's something else. And in the year 2000, it's still Savage Garden.
Boo.
Yeah. So we're going to listen to the number 7 song, which is All the Small Things by Blink-182. Darren, hit it. Much better song.
Yeah, definitely better. I've never like gotten into Blink-182, but it's better than Dueling Banjos.
Yeah. I met Blink-182.
Did you?
Yeah.
Were they nice?
Yes, two of them were.
Okay.
Was my first trip to Australia. I was in Sydney waiting for my connecting flight. So my bag got lost when I was in Sydney. So I missed my connecting flight to Brisbane. So they put me on the next flight. And I was sitting in the waiting area for your plane. I had like 3 or 4 hours to kill. And when the golf cart goes by and you hear the beep beeps?
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm sitting there and the golf cart goes by and it's Blink-182 on the golf cart.
No way.
Yeah. So what had happened was their drummer, Travis, had just broken his foot and they were canceling their Australian tour. So they were flying back to the States.
Hence the golf cart.
Yes. So yeah, because he couldn't walk. He had a broken foot or a broken leg. I can't remember which one it was. So I just got up and just talked to him for a few minutes. And the bass player and Travis, the drummer, were really nice guys. The other guy just stood off and sulked off to his own, so I never talked to him. But yeah, nice guys.
Cool.
Yeah.
Shout out Blink 182 then.
Yeah, so that's my Blink 182 story. I met them in an airport in Sydney.
Wow.
So you definitely won that round, Nick.
Okay, awesome.
Just-
I'll take that.
Just by default because of the dueling banjos. And we're going to reveal the results of the poll that we did last week, which was who played it better between The Doors and Snoop Dogg with Riders on the Storm. And we're happy to report that The Doors won 80% to 20.
That's
That's
I
too high.
I respect
Yeah.
whoever voted for Snoop Dogg because like I said, the song's cool. It's cool that it's a remix.
Yeah.
But like the original is just a better song. So I think our audience got this one correct.
I'm going to say 20% was too high.
Yeah.
That if you voted for Snoop Dogg, you were wrong. I'll just say that and leave it there.
Yeah.
So don't vote for Snoop Dogg when The Doors play the same song. Yeah. And Justin, you voted for Snoop Dogg? Really?
Oh yeah. Past guest on the podcast, Justin Klein.
So Justin, I'm confused. All right. We have something to talk about, Justin. Okay, so that's pretty much it for the episode. Thank you very much. We just have our independent artist left to go, which is a Brisbane band called Plateau, and they're a really cool song called Beachside Holiday. They're a local Brisbane trio. This song I would love to see performed live because I think this is a really killer song that I would like to see this band play live. So go check out Plateau if you're in Brisbane area and see and try to get this song live. Gentlemen, we'll talk to you next week.
You got it. Have a good one, guys.
Have a good one. Darren, just hit play.
Just another Beachside holiday. It's just another escape. It's just another denial. Dive in the light. So drink in your medicine till death will control. Scream.
You've been listening to Just Hit Play. To contact your hosts, Peter and Nick, or to be featured on an episode as musical talent, email justhitplay7300@gmail.com. Keep up to date with news and announcements by following on Instagram and Facebook, linked in the show notes. Subscribe on your favourite podcatcher to tune in next week for more sonic delights. And if you can't wait till then, check out the Just Hit playlist on Spotify, linked in the show notes. A special thanks to Braden Munch for the theme song, and thank you for listening.